young Joe, combat Marine. When he gets out of the Marines, he becomes an LAPD officer, and he's that for 3 years, uniformed officer, and that doesn't work out for him, so he resigns. And then what's he going to do? Well, he does what he does better than probably anyone. You know, he becomes a professional soldier again, and you know, he fights. He's a mercenary, PMC, private military contractor, and he goes around the world doing that. You know, he works theaters in Africa, South America, the Middle East. He's doing jobs in the PMC world. And I think if you're Joe Pike and you have his kind of maturity and his kind of skill set and abilities, he's almost certainly a group leader of some kind. And he's probably got younger troopers who work for him, and I think those young guys probably revere him and look up to him and respect him and look to him as a mentor. One of those young guys, Frank Meyer. Frank did look upon Joe as an older brother, father figure, mentor, and Joe really liked Frank a lot. He saw a lot of potential in Frank. And then as they go along, one day Frank meets a girl and falls head over heels in love with her. One thing leads to another, she becomes pregnant. And when she tells Frank, hey Frank, I'm pregnant, Frank is ecstatic. Immediately asks this girl to marry him because he can't think of anything better. Have a family with her, spend the rest of his life with her, asks her to marry him, and he is totally polaxed and surprised when she says, not on your life. There is no way you're going to be in this baby's life as long as you're you. If you want to be a part of our lives, if you really want to marry me, you got to walk away from all this junk. Never have anything to do with all these loony people you work with, and you have to be normal. So Frank, confused and taken aback by all this, he goes back to Joe and the guys, and he's explaining all this. And of course, the younger guys, you know, they're going to react pretty much the way younger guys would, who are shot full of testosterone and carrying around big guns, you know, symbolic penises. And they all say, are you crazy? I mean, you're not even married to this woman. She's busting your chops like this? Drop her, man. I mean, forget it. There's plenty of girls out there. You know, you don't need this grief. Joe doesn't have that reaction. Joe says to him, do you love this woman? Frank says, yeah. I really want to marry her. I want this kid. I want us to be a family. And what Joe tells him is that, well, if she can give you the life that you want, that dream life that you want so badly, then do what she wants. You know, walk away from us. Shut the door on this part of your life. You have to go to her, and you have to build that life you want. And it is everything that Frank Meyer wanted it to be, until the night a home invasion crew kicked down the front door, run in, and murder all of them. Frank, Cindy, the two little boys, the nanny, shoot them all to death. The cops go in there, the investigating detectives, and they've seen this before because Frank isn't the first time. It's actually happened 6 times before. Frank's the 7th. And the only thing the cops know about the first 6 is those first 6 victim sets all had one thing in common. They were all, in some way or another, criminals. They were either money launderers or drug dealers or fences or something. They were the type of person who would have a huge quantity of cash in the house. And the assumed motive for these murders has been criminals ripping off criminals. Now, the cops have never had a clue as to who had done this. They've never had a lead of who to go to ask about what has happened here, except now with Frank's case, because when they're examining Frank's body, they see something they've only seen one other place. They've never seen this anywhere else. Frank Meyer has red arrows tattooed on the outside of his arms. So they see those arrows and they immediately think Joe Pike. So that's what they do. Following that one single lead, they locate Pike and they drop those 2 bombs on him. Hey, your buddy Frank Meyer is dead, and by the way, we believe he's a criminal. Do you know anything about his criminal activity? And the other thing, we got to you, Mr. Pike, because, hey, geez, your boy Frank Meyer has red arrows on his arms just like Linda Brown. And Joe is shocked because 10 years ago, when Frank Meyer said goodbye for the last time, Frank had no tats. So Joe's wondering about that. When did Frank get those tats? What does that mean? Why? The other thing is that the Frank Meyer he knew, no way does Joe believe Frank would ever be involved in crime. But it's been 10 years. People can change, and though Joe doesn't believe it, he wants to find out for real.